After buying a new fence to keep my dogs safe, I came home from work one day to find it completely torn down. My neighbor was standing there with a chainsaw, laughing, saying, "It was ugly anyway. You're welcome." When I demanded he pay for it, he spat at my feet and said, "Sue me, see what happens." Weeks later, I received a letter from his lawyer claiming I had damaged his property by obstructing the view. I lost thousands in legal fees just trying to defend what was rightfully mine. I live in Lexington, Kentucky, in a quiet neighborhood with big yards, lots of dogs, and supposedly decent people. I thought I had decent neighbors. I was wrong. I have 2 dogs, Duke, my golden retriever, and Scout, my German shepherd. They're my family. I got a new job that keeps me out of the house longer, so I decided to put up a fence to keep them safe. I saved for months to buy a nice 6-foot cedar privacy fence. It wasn't cheap. $7,400 including labor. But it was worth it to know my boys were safe. The problem was my neighbor, Rick. Rick is a wiry guy in his 50s who thinks he owns the whole block. He has lived there for 25 years and acts like that gives him the right to run the street. From the first day I started putting up the fence, he sneered and shook his head. One time I overheard him mumble, "Ugly piece of crap." I ignored him. I figured he'd get over it. I was dead wrong. One afternoon I came home from work and froze in my driveway. My brand new fence was gone. Not broken, not damaged, completely gone. Piles of wood lay scattered across my yard and the sidewalk. The posts were ripped from the ground. It looked like a hurricane had hit only my property. And there he was. Rick stood near the property line, holding a damn chainsaw like it was some kind of trophy. He wore this sick grin and actually laughed when he saw me. "It was ugly anyway," he said. "You're welcome." I walked up to him, shaking with anger. "You destroyed my fence! That's thousands of dollars! What the hell is wrong with you?" He spit at my feet. "Sue me. See what happens." I called the police. When they arrived, Rick claimed I had, illegally, put the fence on his property. He waved some old survey papers and told the cops I had no right to block his view of the park. The cops said it was a civil matter. They couldn't arrest him. My jaw nearly hit the ground. I thought, fine. I'll sue him. I hired a lawyer, paid for a proper survey, which showed the fence was fully within my property line. I filed a lawsuit for damages. Then the real nightmare started. 2 weeks later, I got a letter from his lawyer. Rick was suing me. He claimed my fence had damaged his property and obstructed his enjoyment of the view. The case dragged on for months. My lawyer fees piled up. Every time we had a court date, Rick showed up smirking, wearing his ugly denim jacket like he was at a party. I couldn't believe it. I was spending thousands just to defend my right to have a fence on my own damn land. I had to take out a loan. I sold my old pickup to pay my legal fees. It felt like Rick had beaten me. But I wasn't going to let him win. The stress was eating me alive. I wasn't sleeping. Every day I'd drive home, stomach in knots, terrified of what Rick might have done next. I installed cameras around my property. I didn't care how paranoid I looked. Then it happened. One Saturday morning, I found deep scratches all down the side of my new car. My lawyer advised me not to confront Rick directly anymore, but I lost it. I stormed over and pounded on his door. He opened it with that same smug face. "Problem?" he asked. "You keep my car, you piece of crap." Rick laughed in my face. "Prove it." I had no proof. The cameras didn't catch him in the act. My insurance deductible was $1,200. Another hit to my already bleeding wallet. The lawsuit dragged into 6 months. Rick started throwing parties on his lawn, blasting music until 2 a.m. His friends parked in my driveway and blocked me in. When I asked them to move, they told me to cry harder. I called the cops multiple times. They never caught him breaking any specific law. I felt trapped in my own home. Then one day, my dogs got sick. Bad sick. They were vomiting, trembling, barely able to stand. I rushed them to the emergency vet. $1,600 later, they recovered. The vet said it looked like they ingested antifreeze. I knew who had done it. But again, no proof. I sat in my living room that night staring out the window at Rick's house. My hands clenched into fists. I swore I would end this. I wasn't going to lose everything. Not to him. My lawyer called the next day with an idea. The city records office had archives of property surveys. If we could prove Rick's fence had encroached on my property for years, I could file a countersuit that would wipe him out. I spent 3 full days at the records office downtown. I skipped work. I went through file after file, map after map, until finally, I found it. A 1993 survey showed Rick's back fence extended 4 feet into my property line. Not just recently. For decades. I had him. We filed a new lawsuit demanding he remove his fence, compensate me for illegal use of my land, and reimburse me for my legal fees. Rick was served on a Monday morning. I watched from my window as he opened the envelope, and his cocky smile faded for the first time ever. He kicked his porch railing so hard it broke clean off. But Rick wasn't finished. He hired a private investigator to dig into my past. I started getting letters and strange phone calls about a missed credit card payment from years ago. My mailbox got smashed twice. One night, I came home to find dog feces smeared all over my front door. It was full-blown war now. I documented everything. I kept records, photos, timestamps. I built a binder 5 inches thick. My lawyer said it was the most thorough personal harassment record he'd ever seen. The court date for my countersuit was set. The morning of the hearing, I was shaking as I walked into the Fayette County Courthouse. I had spent months drowning in stress, debt, and fear. I hadn't slept the night before. My lawyer, a no-nonsense woman named Valerie, patted my arm and whispered, "We've got him." Rick strolled in like he owned the place, wearing his same greasy denim jacket and flashing that same damn grin. His lawyer trailed behind him, already looking defeated. The judge, a sharp older man with a reputation for hating petty neighbor disputes, called the case. The moment of truth started. We presented our evidence. The old 1993 survey. The photographs. The property lines. The binder of harassment incidents, police reports, vet bills, car damage, the antifreeze poisoning suspicion. Valerie laid it out calmly but firmly. The courtroom was silent. Then Rick spoke. Or rather yelled. He stood up and called me a lying bastard, and claimed I had framed him. The judge warned him to sit down. Rick kept going, ranting about how I had ruined his life and destroyed the value of his home. The judge stared at him coldly. Then came the bombshell. Valerie had subpoenaed Rick's own home insurance documents. His policy had a recorded note about the existing fence encroachment from years earlier. He had known all along. The judge's voice was firm. Mr. Rick, you have unlawfully encroached on your neighbor's property for over 20 years. You destroyed his legal fence. You harassed and endangered his animals. You filed a frivolous lawsuit to cover your misconduct. Rick's face drained of color. The ruling was brutal. Rick had to pay $42,000 in damages, $7,400 for the fence, $1,600 for the vet bills, $10,000 for my legal fees, and $23,000 for unlawful land encroachment and personal damages. He had 30 days to remove his illegal back fence at his own expense. A restraining order was placed. Rick could not contact me, my dogs, or step within 15 feet of my property. Any violation meant immediate jail time. I stood there frozen. After months of hell, I had finally won. As I walked out, Rick glared at me from the courtroom door. He spit at the floor again. I just stared at him and smiled. "You should have left me alone," I said quietly. The next week, a work crew showed up and tore down Rick's back fence. I sat on my porch with Duke and Scout, sipping coffee, watching every panel fall. Rick stood behind his screen door, red-faced and helpless. 2 months later, a for sale sign went up in his yard. He moved out by winter. I never saw him again. I rebuilt my fence, even sturdier than before. I paid off my debts over time. My dogs were safe. I was safe. It took everything I had, but I learned something. Some people think they can bully you forever, until you push back. Never let anyone like Rick win.